press record. So yeah, teaching from home instead of the Buddhist Center today, because of this, I need to get away to the yoga camp. So hopefully it's okay. I finished 2 minutes early, and I'll repay you that 2 minutes really soon. Presume everyone can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up if their volume's good. Great, marvelous. Let's start then, shall we? Morning. Feet together or close, and hands in the prayer position. Breathing through the nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Toes spread. So it's Tadasana Namaskara. Tadasana Namaskara. I'm just going to slightly adjust the screen because I think it might have chopped the top of my head off, which may or may not be a good thing. There we go. Let's see if that's better. Tadasana, we know Tada means mountain. Namaskara, namas plus kara, a reverential action. So the feet, as I say, are together or close. They wouldn't be together if, for example, your thighs met first and then you tried to force your feet together. That wouldn't be sensible or useful for the common peroneal nerve and other muscles. So we won't do that. Spreading the toes can help massage the feet, which massages the tissue right the way up through the body. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. So I'm still, as I'm talking to you, I'm lifting up the instep of one foot, lifting up the instep of the other foot, stretching out, massaging that fascia, the plantar fascia on the soles of the feet. Abhyasa, again and again and again. We can tune out of the future and the past by tuning into this. And this is not a concept or an idea or an expectation. Sometimes when we say, tune into this, what's this? You know, do I know it? Have I got a framework for it? This is not a concept. It's not an expectation. This is complete. This is whole. This is what it is. This doesn't need embellishment. It doesn't need knowledge. You don't need to know it in terms of, precognizing it. It's just this, right? Just like a walk in the forest is just a walk in the forest. It's got all the elements that it's got. It's not just trees, is it? It's sounds and it smells and it's light. And it's the way you feel. And this is like that. Interlace your fingers to their roots. Stretch your arms down diagonally. Make sure your trapezius is free. Raise the arms up. Lightly tone the tummy in response so that as the arms go up, they inevitably go back. And as they go back, your lightly toned tummy keeps the pelvis engaged at the front, pulling it up with the ribs, which keeps it drawn a little down at the back, which stretches your lower back muscles in a way that I hope delights you. So really feel into it with that tummy tone and playing to find ways to respond to exactly how the body is now, precisely how the body is now. Again, you don't need to know that as a concept or even have a label for it. It is what it is. The way to know the body as it is now is to open up to it. And the way to open up to it is to drop ideas and expectations and anticipations. And, ideas about what yoga is supposed to be or what we're supposed to be as yoga practitioners or what we're supposed to be achieving through yoga. Forget all that. Forget it all. Just open up to the way it is. And then a response is part of that. I call it listening, responding. The one thing, aren't they? Listening, responding. Take a big, wide circle, hands to the heart, breathing through your nose. So a couple of you just joined us. Apologies that we're not in a beautiful Brighton Buddhist Center with that beautiful background, etc. We'll be back there next week. My class is being taught there as we speak, which is kind of odd, isn't it? It's being taught there and here. How have I done that? Someone else is doing it in real life there. Jump if you're ready, or step if you prefer. I should say, yeah, that's nice, enthusiastic. I like that. Left toes in, right foot and leg out. Heel aligned to the instep. Breath through the nose, stretch and enjoy the chest. Stretch and enjoy. So enjoyment is a form of absorption, isn't it? Enjoy and play too. Feel free to play. We're going to raise the lead arm. We're going to focus on the inner groin of the back leg. And imagine it stretching and feel it releasing into that stretch through the breath. Imagine it stretching and feel it releasing. Light tone in the tummy. Good. Now, you're probably thinking we're just about to come into Trikonasana. No, we're not. We're coming out, feet forward, hands on the hips. Take a deep breath that I could hear if I was there with you. I can probably hear it. Got quite a loud breath, haven't we? So take a few of those. And again, remember, yoga is an exact response, or a response rather, to exactly how things are right now. That's all it is. That's all you have to know about yoga. Back toes in, front foot and leg out. It's a response to exactly how things are. Not to how we think they are, not to how they were yesterday, not to how they think they should be, not to what we're striving for in the future, but exactly how they are now. Again, raise your lead arm and focus on the inner groin of the back leg and breathing through your nose, inner groin of the back leg. And see if you can imagine and feel and breathe some space that has an element of giving. There should be an element of surrender, of agreement. We sometimes say this word agreement. I agree. Okay, super duper. Hands on the hips, feet face forwards. It's a response to exactly how things are. So how are things exactly? Can't know, can you, by thinking? Because thinking wants to put things in boxes, like the box good or bad. Is my experience good or is it bad? Am I healthy or unhealthy? Yeah? But actually, reality is not like that. Reality is like this. This is what it's like exactly like this. And the more you think about it, the more noise you create, and the harder it is to hear the way reality is, because it's just, it's a walk, like a walk in the forest. Stretch your arms, turn your palms, raise your arms. Make sure the roots of your neck are soft and free, and the tummy is lightly toned, and the pelvic floor has buoyancy. Turn your back toes in and your front foot and leg out, and your whole body's a turning. And as you turn, you walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. Then you lift your back heel, externally rotate it, and bring it down again. Lightly toning the tummy in reiterative waves, a bit like if you were combing the fibers, like they were hairs, fibers and hairs, similar sort of, we can visualize muscle fibers like that. And this reiterative combing brings about more and more agreement. And that's a form of release. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg and stretch and give to the stretch. So stretch, as we've said in past classes, is not enough. It's not yoga. Stretch, muscle tone, strong sensations of other kinds, they are the first stepping stone of yoga. The second stepping stone is to give to those stretches. So here we should have a definitely strongly toned tummy. We should be feeling the inner groin of the back leg stretching. We can feel the pelvic floor. Good job. Okay, turn back to center. Level up your feet. Take a deep breath, or 5 or 6. Really let the breath happen. So how about that? Let's just together, let's just really let the breath happen. We're sensitive people, aren't we? We pick up a lot of stuff. We pick up worry, we pick up fear, we pick up stuff in our nerves. We're sensitive. So when we come to yoga, it's an opportunity to express that which we've picked up. And in its journey to release, we have to feel it. That's what happens, we feel it. So, the person who was impatient with us in the queue at the supermarket, or, when we saw something sad on the TV, or whatever, we pick up stuff. We're sensitive. We're very sweet, actually. Human beings you are very sweet. Stretch your arms, raise your arms. Make sure the roots of your neck are free. The tummy is lightly toned, reiteratively toned. That's the same thing as the combing. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out, and walk your front foot across the width of the mat quite generously. Lift the back heel, externally rotate it, and then bring it down. So you can probably see we're sort of doing half of half poses at the moment. Now inhale from the inner groin. So this is like doing half of Virabhadrasana, number one, but it's also a little bit like Parsvottanasana. And we're going to focus. So the tummy is toned. Now that's not the same as hard, although there is firmness to the tummy when it's toned, but it's in and up reiteratively, and it's pulling. The purpose is it's keeping our lower backs longer, right? So it's not that, it's some yoga teachers reach for this long lower back by saying tuck the tailbone under. It's not a good instruction for many poses. I guess there might be one or two when it works, but most poses it doesn't work because it's too local and it just tends to make us tense. It's too local. What we want instead is to tone the tummy in and up and look for length and space. And that's stretching the inner groin. And I do recommend that you look up the psoas muscle straight away after this class, and then get on with the day, or make a cup of tea, then look up the psoas muscle, and then don't worry about anything else the rest of the day. Just have a nice day. But it's good to be able to visualize the psoas muscle if you can, because that's the area from the top of the inner thigh across the lateral pubis, underneath the abdominals into the sides of the lower spine, that we're really feeling into the sides of the lower spine, the deep abdominal area. Okay, well done. Very good. Back to center. Level up your feet, hands on your hips, take a deep breath. And anything that comes intuitively, don't overthink it. So intuitive movements are natural. We just let them come to us. So the pelvis might range around. We're not overthinking it. We're not trying to validate it with, whether or not we fit in with our particular, school. Like, we don't have to be loyal in that way. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel to arch, check and then double check. Similarly, we're going to focus on the inner groin, as we did earlier. Raise the arm up, breathe through the nose. Deep breath, soft eyes, soft brain. Now we are going to come through to Trikonasana, but keep a sense of space on the inner groin as you come down. Eyes soft, like you're in love with whatever, someone, something. Because attitude, everyone knows, affects the body profoundly. And anyone who's doing body work of any kind who doesn't incorporate attitude is missing an enormous and very obvious elephant in the room. As elephants tend to be very obvious if they're in a room. So take breath, play, investigate. Take the 2 stepping stones of yoga. 1, a rich experience such as stretch, but not just stretch, tone, and other rich experiences. The smell of the forest, the taste of your coffee, a kiss on the cheek from someone you like, the warm early evening sun or the warm early morning sun on your face. These sensations, sparkles on water. These are rich experiences. Stretch is also a rich experience. Balancing your inner and outer ankle are rich experiences. That's the first stepping stone of yoga. Inhale, come on up. Nice and calm. Hands to hips, feet face forwards. Take a breath. Let's have a deep breath, or 5. We have to put up with things, don't we? There's things we have to put up with in society, and that's okay. But we need to acknowledge that, and that, there are little things that, in little ways get to us, and we're letting that go now. As you still breathe, turn your back toes in, turn your front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Check that you've got heel to arch alignment. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg. Raise your arm, front arm that is. Inhale, keep a sense of space on that inner groin. And as you exhale, come into the Utthita Trikonasana. So it's a pelvic movement. And I got to say, you're doing it well. Don't hold the breath. Do soften your eyes. Relax the jaw and tongue. Let the breaths be expressive, spontaneous, natural. Eyes soft, brain soft, tongue soft. And investigative. So first stepping stone, a rich experience. And there are millions. The hamstring stretch on the front leg. The balance between the inner and outer heel of the front leg. The balance between the inner and outer heel on the back leg. Can we feel into that for a moment? The balance. Most of us will probably feel we're pushing out towards the outer ankle on the back foot. So we want balance. We want to adjust and readjust and tune and reattune. And then we're giving to these rich experiences with our breath. We're giving. Marvelous. Come on up. Hands on the hips. Take deep breaths, plural. So let a few of those happen. They come and they go, and they come and they go. And they're a way of stirring the pot. We've talked about it like that before. I've talked about my lack of skill making porridge, which is mostly to do with my sort of monkey-like mind. Because when you make porridge, you've got to stir it, otherwise lumps come. But you can retroactively stir some of those lumps out. And the stirring here is the breath, when it's expressive. And the lumps are areas of neurosis, psychophysical areas of neurosis, things that we get caught up in, the past and the future and so on. Now we're going to go first side, same beginning, different end though. Heel to arch alignment, back toes turned in. Raise up your lead arm when you're ready. Balance your ankle. So you can do anything on the back knee. You can bend the knee and so on. Okay. Take your other hand down your other leg and lightly tone the thumb. Inhale, and as you exhale, bend your front knee. Don't put too much pressure on the back knee. Bend your front knee. And this is called Viparita Virabhadrasana. Viparita Virabhadrasana. Viparita means inverted. So that can mean sort of tipped round the other way, or can imply that. Viparita. So we're tipping our Virabhadrasana back the other way. And hopefully you can play with that and you get a good stretch along the side body. Okay, coming down, elbow down onto your leg. Stretch your other arm up and over. Beautiful. It doesn't have to go over. If that's difficult, it can be straight up. It can even be on the hip. And there's loads of scope for us to play. For example, I sometimes like to lift one or both of my heels. Now, the reason I like to do that is because I can then fine tune the fibers of the body to being more in agreement with the present moment. I can fine tune them. Deep, expressive, investigative, playful. These are key words, aren't they? Deep, expressive, investigative, playful. Job's a good one. Arm down, push into the leg. Inhale to come up. Hands to hips. Let's have some really deep breaths. You're really expressing whatever has arisen and is now passing. It has to be refelt on its way out. But the danger of refeeling things is getting obsessed with them again. Got to just let them come out. So the way we become obsessed with anything is we think it's mine. Here's an upset. That's I got upset, and then we think, well, I shouldn't have been upset. That's a threat to myself, and so on. And that can just make us get caught up. Impersonal things that arise because everything's interconnected with everything else. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, heel to arch, check and recheck. Breathe through your nose. Cool, calm, collected. Stretching the inner groin of the back leg and leaning back. It's lovely. Yeah, leaning back. Tone that, lightly tone the tummy. So you get this reiterative waves that keep the lower back nice and long. And then bend the front knee. When you're ready, play with it. You can adjust and readjust any way that works for you. So I'm adjusting and readjusting quite subtly. You know, the late great B.K.S. Iyengar used to call it posing and reposing. So, you know, reposing is also repose. So reposing into something is to settle into it, to rest into it. So again, you could, I find it useful sometimes to lift one or the other heel, and using then intuition to play fibers into a better alignment. Better means more peaceful. Okay, good job. Down to your leg, palm up, look up, stretch up and over. Some deep, expressive breaths. We don't want to collapse our arm onto our head. So there should be a little gap between the head and the arm. And the head is full of the joys of spring. Well, actually, it's summer now, unless you're watching this in the future, if it's one of the ones that I put up on YouTube, which I do sometimes. Okay. Arm down, palm onto the leg. Use your inhale to come up. Feet face forwards, hands on the hips, deep breaths, plural. So really let the breath happen. Really let the breath happen. Let it come and go and come and go. And come and go and come and go. Now we're going to take Trikonasana again, but this time on the diagonal, which means the front foot will come, mine's coming towards you and lining up with the edge of my mat, and my back foot's going to go away from you, right? So my front foot is closer to you, and my back foot is further away from you. And in this way, I've made a diagonal alignment, which already opens up the hips. The diagonal alignment is discombobulating, which we like in yoga. We like discombobulation because the mind can't slip into its patterned programs or templates of what there is to do. It has to just be open because it doesn't know this. We don't do this often. Inhale, exhale, Trikonasana. Now pay moment to moment attention. Be relaxed. Pay attention and breathe. Top arm up. It's different, isn't it? It might throw your balance a bit. Because you probably, if you've done much yoga, you'll probably have a Trikonasana template or program that the mind just goes, oh, it's Trikonasana. You know, now I'm free to go to the past or future or just pontificate about myself in the present. But here, hopefully, it's disorientating enough that you can't fall into a pattern or a program. You have to wake up. Bodha. So Bodhasi. As I wake up, you, Bodhasi. Inhale, come on up. Still quite wobbly, isn't it? Quite exciting, I think. Although I don't get out much. Same thing the other way. Other foot forwards. So this foot's closer to you, and the other one's further away from you. Although you don't get the lovely background of the Buddhist center, this is only zoomed, so it's I'm not zipping around the room and paying attention to people in real life because you're my only yogis this morning. So that's a benefit. Do check the inside of your foot is parallel to the front of the mat, like precisely, as if, you know, an engineer were going to check. And make sure your back toes don't turn out. In this version, they don't have to turn in, but they shouldn't turn out. Raise the arms if you're ready. Open up to the disorientation. Surfers love surfing because no two waves are ever the same. If they were, they wouldn't enjoy surfing anymore. Inhale, exhale, coming down. So it's our Trikonasana on the diagonal. Don't hold your breath. Let it be in the category of poses that I've called in the past wobbly fun. Soft eyes, soft brain, wobbly fun. Adjusting and readjusting. Some meditation. It's just like surfing. The wave is the wave. And that's a big part of the enjoyment. You know, the instability. Anyone who's at all interested in Buddhism will know that Buddhists adore instability. They talk about it all the time. They're all conditioned things are impermanent and unstable, they say. And you can't attribute a sense of self to any of them because everything's connected with everything else. Inhale, come on up. Good old Buddhists. We all quite like a Buddhist, don't we? Walk your feet towards each other, and whatever you need to do to sort of shimmy up and to shake out a little bit. Now, just as we did that on the diagonal, we're going to do Parsvakonasana on the diagonal, but not yet. First of all, we're going to bring the feet together, back to Tadasana. And some people call this Tadasana Samastiti or Samastitihi. So Tadasana Samastitihi. Samastiti, it means with stability. Sama indicates with stability. Or it can even mean with stillness. But we don't, we're not positing that the pose has to be still. The stillness is in us staying in our center, which is the still point. And it's got a visceral correlate. You know, you can actually orientate yourself to the physical center, which is what we call the heart, because it's the middle, the heart of the matter. And once you're in that physical center, right in the center of the center, as it were, then actions that come out of that are not reactions, they're responses. Reactions are where you meet an experience, you add to it what's stored already in your nervous system from the past, and that mixed together makes a reaction. A response, on the other hand, is where we are open. We don't have expectations, we don't have projections, and that's because we're sitting in the middle of our various possible expectations. Like being at the center of a watch or a compass means you're not at any of the possible directions. Now we're going to raise up the left heel and feel into the right foot. Raise up the left heel and feel into the right foot. And you may want to lift and land your foot. You know, I'm lifting the instep of my foot and bringing it back down, and I'm tuning in like an old-fashioned radio, huh? So in the second book, which is pretty much finished, thanks to Ollie and his amazing artwork and cover design and formatting, beautiful. In the second book, we do talk about this tuning in. Actually, I compare it to an old-fashioned TV in that, but similarly with a radio. Up you come when you're ready, and reach through and hold your big toe. And breathe through your nose. And it's enough to hold the big toe. What we focus on is keeping a good sense of humor. And in addition, stretching, opening, making space. The gluteal crease cuts in. That's where the buttock and thigh meet. And that's a connected instruction to making space in the groins. Very, very holistic. Okay, bring your leg down. I really enjoy that. Take a breath. Shimmy out if you want. Move in any way that you want. Make sure your breath is free and that Any movements are just a natural response. They're not even regenerated from how you moved yesterday. They're responding to how things exactly are now. Similarly, we raise the other heel, loosen up in any way you want, including stretching the foot and breathing through the nose, ideally. And I always want to feel that my foot arches have come online. Normally, our foot arches and many other parts of our body are offline. In other words, they're being run by another program other than what's going on now. They're being run by what happened to us rather than what's happening to us now. So bringing the feet online tunes us out of that, of being controlled by those programs. Raise up your other leg, similarly. Reach for your big toe, if you can, with your index finger, middle finger, and thumb. Hand can be on the hip, or if you prefer, extend it out. Maintain and foster a good sense of humor. Breathe through your nose. And I think it makes it interesting and useful to focus on spaciousness in the groin, inner groin, front groin of the standing leg. And to feel that spaciousness is connected with cutting in, it's a deepening of the gluteal crease. Great job. Okay, well done. Down you come. Have a little shimmy, a little shake, a little movement, whatever helps. And then stepping your feet into a diagonal alignment as promised. So same thing, my front foot's now closest to you. This one's closest to you. My other foot stepping back away from you. Remember, the back toes don't have to turn in, but they shouldn't turn out. And then with this, we're going to track a little sort of half circle with our front knee a few times. So it feels like it sort of tracks round and pulls eventually from the groin. Now you can also adjust your foot. Sometimes I lift parts of my foot to help me track that round in a way that's holistic. We're looking for holism. And eventually, elbow down, still tracking that knee, arm up and maybe over, that feels good. Breathing through the nose, that feels good. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. And investigation. Palm down, inhale, come up. Take a breath or two and swap the feet. One forwards, one back. Keep calm. So I think that's what they say on those cups that were very popular, weren't they? Keep calm and carry on or something. I don't know about the carry on bit, but keep calm. Back toes in, diagonal alignment, track a sort of half circle, feel it coming so that there's no discomfort whatsoever in the knee. And so there is an honoring of the name of our subject, yoga. Integration. So integration means we don't leave anyone behind in terms of the body fibers. Everyone's coming with us. And you do it as many times as you need to until you feel that integration. And when you feel ready, and it's up to you when that is, elbow down, arm will come up and over at that point, which may be now or it may be, in a few moments. Breathing through the nose, soft eyes, soft brain. Light tone in the tum. Expressive and natural breath. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. Playful, lila. Good. Arm down, palm down, push into the neck. Calmly come up on the inhalation. Well done. Feet face forwards. Bring your legs close together. Have a little movement to release. Come into Adho Mukha Svanasana when you're ready. Downward facing dog. So we can do that pretty much straight away, I imagine. Padding the paws, opening the armpits. The padding the paws means pressing and repressing the palms with the same purpose as usual, integration. Integration is the recognition of the interdependence, which in some traditions is called prakriti. Interdependence of body, brain, breath, bits of the body with other bits of the body, emotions with the body, breath with emotions, ideas and opinions with breath, and so on. And also the body with gravity, the body with air pressure, the body with cosmic waves, So what we've got is a dance of everything. If the body's moving, everything's moving. If everything's moving, the body's moving. Opening up the armpits. Come down when you're ready. Regular kneeling position. And sitting up tall. Breathing through the nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Brain soft, throat soft. I should remind us that if our knees are tight, do please put a block between the heels and buttocks. And a little rolling on the shins. Expressive, natural. Good. Now for the next pose, we're going to need a blanket or a towel. That'll be fine either way. And probably blocks. Now, if you haven't got yoga blocks, I think quite a few of you do have yoga blocks and they're pretty cheap. And I'm sure you can buy them secondhand because the world is so faddish that I'm sure you can buy them even cheaper secondhand, some yoga blocks off eBay or something like that. But if you don't have blocks, not the end of the world, you can use books. Hopefully you've got a couple of books that are fairly big. And if you're using books, the binding, imagine that this is where the binding of the book it would be. That faces forwards. And what I mean by forwards is, well, I'll show you. We're going to come, so I've placed a block there, but if you know your knees are a bit tight, 1, 2, 3 blocks, even 4 blocks are placed there instead. The inner ankles are a little bit wider than the outer hips and a little bit wider than the block. The block has been placed, for most people, it's placed landscape. So here's a landscape painting, here's a portrait painting. It's landscape like this. With the knees quite close and the ankles relatively wide, you place 3 fingers to the calves. And with a middle finger in the middle of the calf, you contract your foot arches, right? So some of you are getting ready, so I'll slow down a bit. So just a reiteration, you've got your inner ankles a little bit wider than your outer hips. You're taking 3 fingers to the calf muscles. And I think if you pull your toes up away from the floor so that your foot arch is engaged, it will help to look after your knee. We won't go into the technicalities. It's to do with the muscle, the peroneus longus. But so anyway, pull your toes, as it were, away from the floor so your foot arches feel engaged. Pull the calf muscles back, not out. So just dragging on your fingers. Keep those feet engaged and sit down slow to your 1, 2, or 3 blocks, and then draw the buttock flesh out and back without disturbing the rest of the pose. So this is Virasana. So I'm sitting on 1 block. You might be on 1, 2, 3, or even 4. And it's a very interesting pose to study in and of itself. Now I'm slightly moving side to side, and that might happen to you, or something else might happen. Maybe there's a bit of circling, but what we're looking for is to melt the areas that are resisting. Obviously, lots of areas are not resisting, otherwise you wouldn't be in the pose at all if everything was resisting. So just melting the areas that are still resisting. And really settling onto the block. Studying resistance and its connection to the breath, and observing release of that resistance and its connection to the breath. Interlace your fingers, stretch your arms diagonally away. Breathe through your nose if you can. Still allow movement if it comes naturally, spontaneously. Raise the arms up when you're ready. Just as we did at the beginning of the class, as the arms go back, to avoid throwing the lower back too far forwards and to keep the length, we lightly tone the tummy and we look for lift, length, soft space in the lower back. Soft space in the lower back. Breath just naturally comes and goes. The eyes are soft, the brain is soft, the throat is soft. Investigations may drift the body around like a dandelion seed in breezes that we can't even feel, moves this way and that. The reason why the dandelion seed moves so easily is because it's light. Lagu in Sanskrit. Lightness here refers to an attitude of lightness. A big wide circle. Good job, everyone. Hands to the heart center. Take a breath or two or three or four. So a few deep breaths coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Release your hands from the prayer position. We're going to come out of our Virasana, which is the name of this posture, slow and easy. We're going to remove the block, possibly put it between the heels and buttocks because we're coming to a kneeling position. For some of us, that's better with a block. One hand resting on top of the other and breathing through your nose. So Vajrasana, very sort of simple but important pose, Vajrasana. Expressive breath. Rolling on the shins. Soft eyes. Relaxed temples. And a breath, of course, is both the gauge to tell you where you're holding, but also the method by which we release. Because the breath can't help itself to sister up with any tension in the body and mirror it completely. So you can scan the body for tensions that you might not know are there. Holding patterns, subtle grippings that are driven by the nerves. You could take your attention to the knees or the hips or anywhere. And just notice. Okay, well done. Release your hands. And we're going to stretch out our legs. Now, if you like luxury and you want to keep the blanket, I'm not, why not? It's the weekend. But you don't need the blanket, but it can be nice. We're going to be sitting in Dandasana, so drawing the buttock flesh out and back. And when you move the right buttock flesh, you lean to the left and forwards, and vice versa. That will bring you to the inner front edge of the ischial-tuberosities, the sitting bones. And then breathe and sit up straight. So we're going to just see if we need a block or not by placing our hands next to our hips, perhaps further back if you've got long arms, but not further forwards. And then we're going to arrange around a little bit, little movements, forwards, backwards, left, right, to see if we can find little moments. See if we can find any little moments of lift, of lightness. Little moments of lift, of lightness. Moving left, moving right. Now, if you can't find those little moments of lift and lightness, then don't worry. Just sit on a block straight away and repeat. So you might, okay, yeah, I'll get a block now, Jim. Sit on the block. If you've got two blocks, it's good to put them short end to short end. That gives you a platform that's also can accommodate your hands then. And then we'll come back and we'll do it again. So you might have eased off, you might have got a block, or you might just be ready to come in again. Let's do it again from scratch. So hands by the hip joints, or further back if you've got long arms. Head up in line with the spine and eyes soft. Breathing through the nose. Moving left, right, forwards, backwards, looking for lightness in the lumbar. Lightness in the lumbar. And this is the first of our many stations. Actually, there are 8 stations or practice points for this pose, Dandasana. And I could just stay on this station in a range, you call it the station of ranging around, looking for lightness, looking for height, constantly on the move, because as soon as you find height, you often lose it and have to find it again. The balls of the feet are spread, broad. The heels are spread, broad. The chest is spread and lifted. The top of the thighs drop, lift, means there's a dropping like a stone drops in an automatic and natural and accompanying lift. In this case, the spine, just as when you drop a stone into water, as the stone drops, the water rises. As your thighs drop, boom, spine rises. And Dandasana is a pose worthy of a long period of time, but I think you might be ready to come out. You might be baked. I kind of into this pose. We're going to cross the legs. So you could stay sitting on a block, but if you've got 2 blocks, short end to short end, just use one instead. Don't have the 2. Sukhasana, there's a gap between the legs and the pelvis in this pose. If you're on more than one block, if you're on 2 or more, then definitely a blanket goes on, or a towel goes underneath your shins. So you just lift your knees up, take the blanket or towel, put it underneath. That gives a resting place. It acts as a brake for the pelvis to not move infinitely. More detail can be given if you want. If you join a teacher training course, we can go into lots more detail of why these things are. That was an advert for Vajrasati Yoga Teacher Training. It's an advert. And we're just moving around left, right, forwards, backwards, investigating. This is one of the things that we're encouraged in Patanjali Yoga and many other forms of yoga. And actually we find it going right back into the Pali Canon, which we understand, but we're not totally sure, but we understand is certainly a recounting of old strata of Buddhist philosophy. And we're told there that the yogic truth, meditative truth, invites investigation and is timeless, which means it doesn't matter, whether this is being taught 2,500 years ago by Siddhartha Gautama or being taught now. So just massaging it in until there's peace. Till there's peace. Integrative peace. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn. Bring one hand round, the other hand behind you. Breathe through your nose. This can be a palm in or palm out affair. If it's palm out, it invites the collarbones to broaden. It's for us to accept that invitation, which we do through the breath. In accepting the invitation to broaden the collarbones, we are purifying our nervous system by letting go of what would otherwise narrow the collarbones, which is gripping, grasping, grabbing in the body, which is a result of uncertainty, a result of doubt. Natural breath, soft eyes. Release, return to center, and then continue to turn the other direction. Keep turning. That's it. Similarly, you might have your palm facing out or in. I think for about the last 18 years of practice, I've been turning my palm in. Before that, for about 12 years before that, I was palm out. And I think I'm going back to palm out. It's quite exciting news. Exciting because it's a significator of a new phase for me of deeper trust. So that, a palm out, sometimes we're not in a phase of deeper trust, and that's fine, And so the palm in helps us to be calmer and more centered when there's not such deep trust. But if you turn your palm out, remember there's two stepping stones to yoga. A rich experience like the invitation to release the collarbones, and then giving to that rich experience. Really good. Return to center. Remember which leg you've got crossed in front of which leg. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Give yourself a little energy bath. That's to sort of rub down buttocks, chest, face, hair, eyebrows, everything, until you feel energy is spread everywhere. And then from that, we're going to come into your favorite, my favorite, actually maybe not favorite, but anyway, this pose, Parapunarnavasana. So we're going to lean the body back by 30 degrees and raise the legs up by 60 degrees. Now you might think, I can't, Jim, I can't do it. You can do it with bent knees. That's fine. That's allowed. Breathe into it, meditate into it. It's a meditation. Breath comes and goes. Parapuna, full boat pose. Cross the legs the other way as you come out of your full boat pose. Put the block back in if you're using a block. We're back into Sukhasana with a gap between the legs, but we've got the other cross of the legs. We're drawing the buttock flesh out and back. And breathing through the nose. You can use your hands against your shins to very, very gently pull on to drive the back in and up gently. Breath comes and goes. Eyes are soft, brain is soft, throat is soft, tongue is soft. Everything that can be soft is soft. Maybe there's a bit of movement, left and right. Everything that can be soft is soft. Breath comes and goes naturally. When we're softened enough, we lift up gently and we turn similarly to the other side, palm facing in or out with the same sort of provisos. Breathing through your nose if you can. A sense of broadening across the collarbones. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. So it's not enough to have a rich experience, to have a stretch, to tone muscles, to experience, some texts even tell us, go out and find a rich experience, like the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, probably written around the 8th century, 8th or 9th century, tells us things like, you look at dappled light, or experience the sensation of having a piercing. That's something quite a lot of Brightonians could do. Or you could extrapolate, any rich experience. Like they sometimes talk about like emotions as a rich experience, really experiencing fear, for example. And then use that rich experience, pleasant or unpleasant, or whatever, by giving to it, and it will take you to its source, to its substratum, to its driver, which is the interdependent field. But you can only do that by opening up to it. You open up to it, and it's like a sort of world opens up, and what seemed from a distance to be a sort of discrete thing becomes a universe, interdependence. Lift and keep lifting, and turn and keep turning. We're going the other way. It's Parivrtta, Sukhasana again, but with the other across the legs. Palm in or out. Breathing natural. Investigating the possibility of agreement, of saying yes. Wonderful. Slow and easy return to center. Extend out your legs. Energy bath, s'il vous plaît. Legs, feet, arms, face, neck, ears, everything, chest, armpits, back of the body, front of the body. Don't miss out any areas when you do that. Now, you might have thought earlier when we did Parapurna Navasana, I didn't like that full boat pose. Is there a half version? Yes, there is. Let's do it now. Hands behind your head. The half version, the body goes back further. It goes back by 60 degrees, and the toes go up by 30, bringing them level with the eyeballs. Shaking and trembling is acceptable. Breathe easy. Doesn't have to be static. Well done. Well done. Bend your legs and lay down on your back. Bet you'll like that. Lay down on your back and take a deep breath. Like a deep, full breath in, followed by a deep, full breath out. And then on and on like that for a few breaths. Deep, full breaths in, deep, full breaths out. Spontaneous. Natural. Pop your hands behind your head as if you're on holiday. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Deep, natural, expressive breaths. Flex up your hips. That means lift up your feet. Lower back close to the floor. Lift up your head. Breathe through your nose. Extend your legs. Swing your legs. Wag your tail. Any movements that, in fact, help the integration process. Lower one leg, however low feels right, and it can drift, medially, laterally. It just should feel okay on the back is what we're looking for. So we want the lower back to stay intimate with the floor. That leg can then raise up. Still in the raising, we should be attentive, and then similarly with the other leg, like drift in, out, up, down. But we keep this intimacy with the lower back. Then the leg raises up, the head comes down, the knees are bent, feet come down. Everyone takes a deep breath. In and out. Followed by in and out again. Followed by in and out again. Well, that's just breathing, isn't it? In is followed by out, and then out is followed by in. And it just keeps going like that. Lift up your feet when you're ready. Open the angle at the back of the knees to more or less 90 degrees. I hope your back can feel intimate. I'm quite enjoying being on a blanket. It's nice. Bit of weekend comfort. Lift your head opposites to opposite. Opposite elbow to opposite knee. And then the other direction. And then one more on each side, adding a little bit of salt and pepper by raising the opposite leg, descending it and lifting it 3 times, keeping the lower back intimate. Don't let it become an exercise that you superimpose. We're still responding to exactly how things are. Obviously, we do the same on both sides. But a response to exactly how things are now, not how we think they should be, not how they were before, but an exact response to exactly how things are right now. Back to center, head down, feet down. Everyone takes a deep breath with a sigh-like exhale. And let there be a few sigh-like exhales. Sighing is a wonderful and quite natural response to picking up stuff, and then dropping it, letting it go. Sometimes we don't have the opportunity to let things go because the week's too busy. But we come to yoga on Saturday, or if you're doing this in the future, and whatever day you're doing it, and then that's an opportunity. You come to yoga, and that's an opportunity. Release your hands from behind your head. And we're going to take 2 options. Now, if you're on a blanket like I am, first thing to say is heels close to the bum, but not on the blanket. They should be on the yoga mat, right? And then there are choices here. Just see if I've got a belt over here. So this is a weird kind of Pilates-y kind of belt thing. I don't really use it, but actually once or twice when I've used it instead of a yoga belt, it's been all right. It's like some sort of weird seaweed. Anyway, enough talking about how weird I find this belt. You can put a yoga belt or any belt, dressing gown belt, around your shins like I've done here, or you can hold the yoga mat like I'm doing here, or you can hold your front shins providing your arms are long enough relative to your torso. If you have a very long torso and not such long arms, then it will be impossible to reach the shins, of course. So either one of those 3 options, if you've got a belt, I think that's a very, very good option. But in either one, you're pulling your shoulders down away from your ears in holding the belt or holding the mat. The tummy is then lightly toned in a wave. It draws in and up. And the pelvis is lifted. And as soon as it lifts, you turn your arms out. As soon as it lifts, you turn your arms out. And that applies to whether you're holding the yoga mat, holding your front ankles, or using the belt.
If you were holding the belt would twist in your hands as you turned. The chest should open, and we're trying to lift as much of the spine off the floor, including the cervical vertebrae. If, and this is probably less likely for most of us, but if you're holding the front ankles, there are different hand positions you can take. For example, you can push against the back of the heels and calves, and that way is quite good. Another example is you can turn your hands so your thumbs face down and you're holding your inner ankles rather than the outer. And you can even let go altogether if you're doing that last version and just press with your thumbs against your inner heels. But I think most of us were probably much more wise to use a belt. You get more out of it, or hold the mat. Find the pelvic floor, range around investigatively, breathe through the nose. Come down slow and easy and calm. Let the pelvis land and let that breath happen. Walk your feet a bit away from your bum. Keep the knees bent, but just give yourself a bit more space. And let's take a few really deep breaths here. Really deep breaths here. And it's just really nice to observe the body releasing itself. Now we're going to extend our legs out, palms up and shoulder blades scooted under. Obviously, you might want a blanket, so you might bend your legs and roll over to the side to get a blanket. And we're going to come into two sanketas. Sanketa means with a marker, with a flag, with like a ketu is a sign in Sanskrit, but sanketas actually refer to esoteric techniques. They're not mentioned in many texts. The word is used in Marathi and some other texts in those languages, but in the Sanskrit text, the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. So the first of the two sanketas is what comes to be called corpse pose. And that's what we're doing now, right? Laying on our backs, palms facing up, shoulder blades scooted under. And the texts tell us something like, find a place away from people, which means, away from anywhere that anyone might hassle you. So a yoga mat is fine. And lay on your back, it says, with your mouth facing the sky, as if you were dead. And it says, this is one of the best sanketas. Now the sanketas are there, we're told, for one purpose, to achieve layanam, which means melting. So this is one of the best ways of melting. This is one of the best ways of melting. And then the second sanketa that we can do at the same time as the first, which we also get instruction on in the same text, tells us to concentrate on the back of the skull. To concentrate on the back of the skull. It seems to work. It makes us release. We feel the weight of the back of the skull on the floor. And it helps us to release.
Melting is a form of crossing over. Moving from the shore where everything appears as independent. There's you and me, and there's right and wrong, there's good and bad, there's success and failure, there's gain and loss. Melting those edges, we find interdependence is the reality that negates clinging. And as a result of the negation of clinging, we fall, patan, we fall into our true nature, which has no borders or edges, no age, no name, no gender, is not limited to time, birth, species. It's ageless, deathless, timeless. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And take little stretches that are natural and organic. You might rub your eyes or stretch out an arm or a leg. Bend your legs when you're ready and place the soles of the feet on the floor. And then take a deep breath when you're there, in and out, releasing the lower back completely. Roll onto your left side when you're ready. Draw your knees up. When you're ready, roll again to your other side. No rush, just when you feel ready. And finally, bringing yourself up from the side in your own time. May any benefit and merit gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me here in my beautiful mansion on the hill. Lovely to see you. I'm off to yoga camp now. Don't forget, if you're interested in coming to an immersion this year, the Quaves, it's on the Vajrasaji website. I'm teaching it. It's the only immersion left this year. Total yoga immersion, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Beautiful place. Used to be owned by Chrissy McVie. That's what you want to book. Or you might be one of the many people that are clamoring over the trip to Gambia in January. So if you're interested in any of those, they're on the website. But if you're clamoring for the trip to Gambia, I understand many others are clamoring for it too. Don't be disappointed if you want to come to Gambia. Anyway, it's an advert. Gotta go. Love you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks so much for coming.
Oh.